Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Friday, August the 14th. It is the second Friday of the month, which means it's time for Ask the Attorney. The local attorneys will be coming in talking about elder law and other non-criminal law actions. And Ken Puzycki with the Law Office of Kenneth A. Puzycki is with us this morning. Morning, Ken.
Morning, Gary.
And if you have a question for the attorney, he'll be happy to answer it at 616-395-1450. The information that we'll be passing along to you over the next few minutes is for general information purposes only. If you have a specific legal situation, we encourage you to please consult your counselor at law before making any decisions or taking any actions. Does most attorneys...
Do most attorneys?
Yes. Do. A, can they correct grammar?
Hey, that's my Catholic school upbringing coming out.
I went to Catholic school and I say does, okay?
Where's that ruler when I need it?
We do have a newsroom ruler, but that's
the yardstick.
Well, no, it's just a little foot stick, but it's plastic and it stings. But I don't wield it because I am the newsroom ruler. No. But anyway, the thing is that now I lost my.
Do lawyers?
Okay.
Something.
Do lawyers do? Good question. Let's begin with one thing that people might say is taken for granted.
Okay.
You're looking for legal help.
Right.
Most lawyers have initial consultations free, or is that not really general?
Depends on what kind of legal advice they're looking for. As a general rule, personal injury attorneys, for example, they offer free consultations, typically, just so they can assess the case as to whether or not to take it, right? Because personal injury attorneys typically work on a contingency basis, which means they don't get paid unless they get you some money.
Yeah.
Okay. Estate planning attorneys, I do... My office staff is going to shoot me for saying this. I do make exceptions, but typically we charge up front for a consultation. If they don't want to commit, a lot of clients will call in and say, hey, I need a trust package. I want Ken to do my trust package that includes the powers of attorney, the whole 9 yards. That's a flat fee. And, of course, we don't charge by the hour because it's a flat fee. If somebody says, I just want to come in and talk to Ken about my estate plan, we charge for that initial 1 hour consultation with the understanding that if they move forward, that will be applied to the package price or whatever other services we provide them.
Along those lines, then, what should a consumer look for as they are looking for a person to represent their interests in estate planning, in elder planning, and the like? What things should they be looking for?
Representing them or help assisting them with their estate plans?
Well, in the sense of, okay, what should I be looking for in an attorney?
Oh, okay.
In general.
Yeah.
So that they don't have to say, hey, I need this. What can you do?
Well, it's ironic that you mention that, because that question kind of circumscribes the list of problems that AI spit out when I asked AI what are the most common estate planning problems that people run into. And again, I mention AI specifically because with AI, it is very, very easy to do an estate plan. Okay? You get on AI, any of the search engines. You say, draft an estate plan for a married couple with minor children and an estate under $1 million. You push enter, and AI will spit out an estate plan. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that estate plan legal? Maybe. I'd even say probably. Okay? But AI is not going to ask you any additional questions, although that may be coming. They might say, "Oh, are any of those children disabled? If so, we need to talk about a special needs trust. Is this a first marriage or a second marriage?" And so on and so forth. The point is, the way to choose a good attorney is by the questions that the attorney asks of you. Okay, if somebody comes in and says, "I need a will," that's okay. Where do you want your stuff to go when you die? I want it to go to my 3 kids. Is that it? Anything to charity? Nothing? Okay, boom, here you go. The attorney's job is to pry into your personal space. Tell me a little bit about your situation. Are you single? Are you married? Are you divorced? Do you have any kids? How are those kids doing? Are they in good marriages? Are there any disabilities? How about your parents? Are they in a nursing home? You got brothers and sisters. Who's going to be the guardian for your kids? So it's the job of the lawyer to ask those kinds of questions and to try to do it in a non-intrusive way. And a lot of times, if I sense that the client is a little uneasy about sharing that kind of information, I say, "Look, I need to know this. I need to know something about your kids and whether they're in good marriages or bad marriages. I need to know, are they loaded with money, or are they scraping by? I need to know these kinds of details so that I can do my job in tailoring what is otherwise a boilerplate estate plan to suit your needs."
I'm thinking of a general question. I want to be able to. I would walk in and say, "Ken, I need to take care of my matters after I go."
Okay,
that's it.
That's it.
What do I need to do?
Well,
that basically is a. Let's start from ground zero and move on.
Yeah. Well, I would respond by saying, you got a lot of living to do between now and when that happens. Let's first talk about what happens if you become sick or incapacitated. Mm-hmm. Because when people think of estate planning, they think of what happens to my stuff when I die.
Yeah, because you can't take it with you.
No, and that's part of it. What happens to my stuff when I die? That's a big part of it, okay? But before you get there, you got a lot of stuff that's going to happen, okay? You might get sick. You might get dementia. You might get married again. There's a lot of things that happen between now and then that we need to put powers of attorney in place so that somebody's there to help you with your affairs. But yeah, if somebody came in and said, "Look, I don't need any of that. I've already got powers of attorney. I already got powers of attorney, medical, financial. I don't need any of that stuff. I just want my stuff to go to my kids or to my loved ones when I die. Can you help me do that?" And then I talk about the simple ways to do that and the more complex ways to do that. I said, if all you want to do is avoid probate and have the money go to your kids, you can name beneficiaries on everything you own. Literally everything you own. It gets a little wonky when it comes to personal property, but when it comes to homes, do a ladybird deed. When it comes to bank accounts, do a TOD or a POD on your bank accounts. You can name beneficiaries on your bank accounts. You don't have to put your kids on the bank account as a co-owner while you're alive, because that could expose your account to their creditors, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But if all you wanted to do is avoid probate, that's easy to do. But then I ask the following questions. How are your kids doing? Are they in good marriages or bad marriages? Mm-hmm. If you leave your money to Joey, your son, what's his marriage look like? Is it a little shaky? Because if you leave money to Joey and his wife files for divorce 6 months later, do you want what you left Joey to be part of the marital pot? Well, heck no. Okay, then. It's starting to get a little more complicated. All right? So does Joey have a gambling addiction? Does Joey like to drink? Does Joey like to smoke? Does Joey like to do recreational drugs? Is Joey on parole?
Yeah. Does he have a tether,
Exactly right. And those things. So back to my initial answer. You'll know whether you have a good lawyer by the questions that they ask you. Now, we always have people fill out what we call an EPO, okay, an estate planning organizer. And it talks about, generalities, who are the kids, who are the grandkids, that kind of stuff. But it's the details, it's the flesh on those bones that really determines whether or not the attorney is actively involved in putting that plan together, or whether he's just putting things into a macro and pushing the print button.
Yeah.
Because if all you want is a template, you can get on AI or LegalZoom or any of those other and punch it out. But if you don't know the questions to ask, and most clients don't know what questions to ask, and that's where it's the job of the lawyer to ask those questions. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about your daughters-in-law. Tell me about your grandkids. Tell me about your brothers and sisters. Tell me about this stuff, and we will help you put that plan together.
If you have a question for Attorney Kenneth A. Puzycki, 616-395-1450. Of course, he is with the law office of Kenneth A. Puzycki. I know that you specifically work with elder law.
Primarily, yeah.
And you've done a little business, not as much as, say the other person that comes in here, which is Nathan Box of Central Park Law. Yeah. He has done a little bit more of business.
Yeah, LLCs and small companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have our listeners go to law class today.
All right.
What's the difference between a commercial or even a nonprofit entity, but we'll do commercial entity, that wants to establish itself as an LLC, as a corporation, or another type of entity? What are the differences, the legal ramifications of those?
There's so many layers to that. I'll try to stick to the basics. Okay?
Please.
Okay. So a corporation is owned by shareholders who own shares. Those shareholders elect a board of directors. The board of directors chooses a president, vice president, treasury secretary. Okay? And those ownership shares are typically in a document form, stock certificate, right? And the corporation is governed by a set of bylaws that the shareholders vote on from time to time. Okay, and the state knows what kind of entity you are because you're filing articles of incorporation with the state of Michigan. Okay, the corporation though requires that you keep minutes of all the decisions that the shareholders are making or that the board of directors are making. An LLC. The LLCs have only been around for about 40 years. Okay?
Limited liability.
Limited liability company. And the difference is there's no ongoing minute requirements. Okay? There's no stock certificates. Rather than having bylaws, you have an operating agreement. Rather than having shares, you have units, and those units are not certificated. There's no paper certificate that says I own X units, although some attorneys will do that to make the client feel happy. But there's no requirement that there be stock certificates for those units. And the units are owned by members. Okay, now that sounds like a bunch of legal blah, blah, blah. Tell me the difference. Well, the difference is in the reporting of keeping of minutes is much simpler to be an LLC than it is a corporation. Now, the twist is this. An LLC, the entity, corporation versus LLC. A corporation has to file a tax return as a corporation. Okay? Now, if it's a single-member corporation, it can be a flow-through entity, but because a corporation can qualify for what's called a subchapter S status, which means the profits and losses flow through to the owners, but there still has to be a corporate tax return filed. An LLC can be taxed as a sole proprietor. I was a sole proprietor for the first 28, 29 years of my practice because I was the only member of my LLC. Now, I'm a PLLC. I'm a professional liability company because lawyers are special.
But not an ALLC, right, as an amateur.
Right, that's right. Although I'm still practicing. Yeah. I'll get it right someday. But an LLC is a generic term because for 25, 28 years, I operated as an LLC, but for tax purposes, I was a sole proprietor. So I didn't have to file a separate tax return for my LLC because I was it, and I could just add the balance sheet and the profit and loss to my personal tax return because I was the only member of that LLC. An LLC can also be taxed as a partnership. If you've got three people that go in together and they form an LLC, the LLC can be taxed as a partnership. Okay? The LLC can also be taxed as an S corporation. The LLC can also be taxed as a C corporation. So when somebody comes in and says, I'm an LLC, my next question is, okay, for tax purposes, how are you? What are you? Are you an S corp, a C corp, a partnership? And they look at me like I'm from Mars. They're like, I'm an LLC. I'm sorry, I know
but there are different types.
Multiple different types of LLCs. Now, what you set up as an entity for your own personal circumstances depends on a lot of different things. I got a lot of clients who buy a house and they want to fix it up and rent it out. For them, an LLC it's cakewalk. It's very simple. It's easy to do. It's cheap for the client, and it gets the job done. Now, why would somebody set up an LLC for a rental property that somebody owns? It's to limit the liability in case there's an accident on that property.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't really understand is what is limited liability company? What does that mean? A lot of people think that if you set up an LLC for a rental property, if there's an accident on that property is protected. It's actually not. An LLC limits the liability to whatever ownership equity you have in that company, in that property, in that building. So if you buy a piece of property, $200,000 rental property, and you put it in an LLC, and somebody slips and falls, or something happens on that property, and there's a lawsuit, the owner of that property is going to get sued. Who's the owner? The LLC. Who's not the owner? Me, personally. They can't get my personal assets. So a limited liability company limits the liability to the asset that's in the LLC. But not the people involved. But not the people outside of the LLC.
When one sets up a business, as we've been talking about, incorporating and knowing about making sure that you don't leave yourself too much out in the open for possible litigation. One might say, well, I'll fly to an LLC. One might say, well, I might want to sell stock in my company. I went to Junior Achievement, and I learned how to set up a business, and I want to set up a company.
Because it's very easy to do. It's very easy to set up your own company. But which company is best for you depends on a lot of different things. And again, somebody has to ask those questions. What are you going to be doing? You're going to be owning real estate? Are you going to? Is it an investment company? You and three other people put $5,000 into a pot and use it as an investment company. What happens when here for my purposes? I don't do a lot of corporate work, but the corporate angle on my end is when you die, what happens to your units? When you die, what happens to your shares? Mm-hmm. If you want out, what happens? How do you get out? Yep. If you get divorced, what happens to your shares? Do you have to split those? Are those part of the marital pot? That's where, again, the corporate end of it is interesting, but from my end, it's if you die or if you become incapacitated, what happens to your shares? What happens to your units? How do we get those? How do we get those ownership interests to your family?
Now, I'm going to throw this question. I'm not certain, whether or not it will apply to a lot of people, but I'm just thinking about somebody hitting the nearly $1 billion Powerball jackpot in Illinois this week. Yeah. And more often than not, we see, especially with one ticket, if one ticket had it, it was bought by a lottery club.
Yeah. It's actually happened in Michigan 4, 5, 6 years ago. Right. At the party store about 100 yards from where my mom lives and where I grew up. And they had an investment company. In fact, a local attorney, Mark Harder, this is public. It was an article in a lot of papers. Mark represented this investment club, and they set up an LLC to hold that winning ticket. Why?
Because
it wasn't for liability limitation. It was for anonymity. Okay? They didn't want to know who was behind that ticket, because all your friends will come out of the woodwork asking for money, blah, blah, blah.
And if you think you get scam calls or scam emails or scam mails, being Joe Schmo, being Joe Schmo with $1 billion lottery ticket.
Yeah. You're going to want to change your phone number real quick. Yeah.
But talk a little bit about protecting yourself in that type of situation.
Sure. So again, there's the anonymity part of it, and the way you could do that is the way they did it over in Grand Blanc, and that is they set up an LLC. They got professional assistants setting that up, because if you put your name on the articles of incorporation to set up that LLC, they know who you are. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a shell within a shell within a shell to get the anonymity that you're looking for. Right. Yeah. Now, for liability, for limitation of liability, there really is none. You're not an ongoing business. You've got that lottery ticket that's going to hold the proceeds, and those proceeds are going to be divided amongst the members. And from there, that's where the estate planning attorney will come and say, okay, now you have all this money. We need to put this money in trusts so that we can avoid taxes to the extent that we can, so that we can protect that money for your kids and grandkids, so that we can avoid generation skipping transfer tax. So a limited liability company in that scenario is not the same as the LLC for a rental property. Totally different. You don't need the liability limitation. You need the privacy and anonymity that go along with it.
And a wise thing is for any quote unquote lottery club to set this up. Do it. Maybe we're going to be big winners. Well,
yeah. Let's not spend that $1,500 to set it up until we get the winning ticket in hand.
Right, but still, it might be a wise thing to do.
Sure,
because you never know if you're going to hit that big ticket.
Yeah, if you're optimistic, you would set that thing up, just like an investment club, whether it's a lottery club, whether it's an investment club where they throw money into a pot and invest it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Yeah, set it up. Put the operating agreement together, which is the equivalent of bylaws, and then that way, if you hit it big, it's already there. Okay, this group in Grand Blanc, I get the strong sense that they didn't set this LLC up until after they had that winning ticket.
They never expected to.
That's right. So as the ticket sat in the safe deposit box under lock and key,
with the clock running, because you have a year to cash that baby in.
Yeah. So then they started calling around. They got together, in some dark windowless room and said, okay, guys, this is going to be fun, but we need to do it right. Let's call somebody and figure out how to do this safely. Yeah.
For more.
Great problem to have.
Yeah. For more, in terms of if you need legal consultation, the law office of Kenneth A. Puzycki will be happy to chat with you at 616-738-8800, 616-738-8800. or go online to Puzycki, Puzycki.com, Puzycki.com. As always, Ken Puzycki, thank you very much for chatting a little bit about incorporation and other fun things, and we'll talk with you in a couple of months. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. I'll see you.
Thank you very much, Ken Puzycki of the Law Office of Kenneth A. Puzycki. NBC News with Jennifer Kuiper straight ahead, followed by WHTC News, and then more talk of the town, including Brian Spencer's What's New Around Holland, and a chat with Allegan County Commissioner Craig Van Beek, along with County Administrator Rob Sorrow. You're listening to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM.